Welcome to the Holistic Living Podcast, my beautiful friends. You can expect my uncensored, real, and honest thoughts on a wide variety of health topics. If you love to learn on ways to improve your health, your life, your mindset, your emotions, and everything in between in a natural way, you are in the right place, and I am so excited to have you here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 9 of the Holistic Living Podcast. Today, I am sharing with you 5 nutrition rules that I break daily. Being a nutritionist, I definitely see a lot of rules out there in regards to diet that people say you have to do in order to be healthy. And I actually find that a lot of the times they are counterintuitive and are not actually that healthy for you. So I'm going to be sharing with you my thoughts around certain rules that are very common that I see a lot of health influencers or practitioners promote, and explain why I actually disagree, and what I actually think you should be doing, which is kind of the opposite. So let's get through this together. I hope that you get some good takeaways from this and, obviously learn a lot. You probably keep hearing so many different nutrition rules and guidelines, things you should and shouldn't be doing with your diet and your lifestyle. And I know it can get so overwhelming to know what is true and what isn't, what actually is healthy, what should you be doing, and then of course, what should you be avoiding. So I'm here to share with you again those 5 rules that I do not follow in my day-to-day and in fact purposely break. The number 1 is eating huge salads daily. Okay, so no one loves a good salad more than myself. And before I continue, I don't want you to think that I don't eat salads. If you follow me for any amount of time, you know that I am addicted to salads. So let's just get that straight. I can probably count the days I've gone without eating salad in my entire life, and it's 1,000,000% under 50 times. Like, I literally do eat salads every single day, growing up and currently. Even when I was at my unhealthiest time in my life, I still had an addiction to salads and ate them all the time. You will hear a lot of nutritionists or health influencers tell you to eat a massive bowl of fresh greens every single day. And while that is really nourishing and great for some people, it is not a good idea for everyone. And here's why. Raw vegetables contain cellulose that is extremely tough to break down. If you chew your food really, really good, and by chewing really good, I mean at least 30 bites or chews per spoonful. So if you chew your food, really well, to break through that cellulose, and if you have enough stomach acid and enzyme production to further break down that cellulose in the digestive tract, then eating large salads daily can be extremely beneficial for you and really great for your health. That being said, most of us eat way too fast, maybe chew 4 or 5 times per bite. And most of us have strained digestive systems that prevent us from breaking down the cellulose. If you have IBS, a SIBO, an underactive stomach, heartburn, any kind of indication at all that you have a deficiency in enzymes or some kind of gut inflammation, then you're not going to be breaking down the cellulose adequately, and it is going to leave our body very strained when we consume a lot of raw vegetables, and can make you very, very bloated. It can actually cause you to have loose stools or gut inflammation. It can cause you to form food sensitivities to these vegetables, and so much more. So I usually will eat a small or medium-sized salad, but then focus on consuming a lot of cooked vegetables on the sides of my meals, or steamed veggies, or pureed in a smoothie, so at least it's fully broken down. And that way you're still getting your raw veggies and your nutrients and fiber, but without all the digestive issues that go with it. Again, this is not for everyone. So if you have great digestion, eating raw vegetables is amazing because you are going to get the enzymes and the nutrients in an unaltered state, and is going to be really great for your health. But again, most people can't tolerate large amounts of raw vegetables. So this is where you don't want to just take a tip from a nutritionist or from someone and just apply it to everybody. This is really where individualized health and wellness comes in. You are unique. If you are eating a salad and you do not feel good after that salad, don't eat it. steam your veggies, blend them up in a smoothie, roast them or whatever works for you in order to still be able to get your greens and your veggies in, but without them making you feel bloated or uncomfortable in some way. Okay, so let's move to rule number 2. That is to eat dairy for calcium. Now, this one is thankfully becoming more and more, it's like a myth that's becoming more and more busted every day. I see more and more practitioners and nutritionists kind of educating people on the negative effects and impacts of dairy. So it's great to see that, but I'm still going to touch on this one because I think a lot of people still really need to hear this. I always get at least once a week a handful of clients saying, what am I supposed to do for my calcium if you're telling me to not eat dairy? So I know there's still people out there who aren't fully educated on this topic. And so this is for you. This rule to eat dairy for calcium is more of an old one. And again, most people know by now that eating dairy is not the best way to get calcium into your body. I find a lot of the time dietitians will encourage the consumption of dairy. A lot of times, doctors and individuals will encourage the consumption of dairy to help promote strong bones and teeth to their patients or their clients. But dairy consumption actually does the opposite. Dairy is acidic, and when it breaks down in the body, anything that is acidic when broken down actually pulls out minerals from the body. Your body tries to recompensate for the acidic food by pulling minerals out of your bones and teeth to keep your body alkaline after eating something acidic. So our bones and our teeth and all these areas, they store minerals in our body for when our body needs to balance the pH, they can be pulled out. So while dairy does contain high levels of calcium and other minerals, when we consume it, it leaves us more acidic rather than alkaline. And so instead of absorbing the minerals from it, we actually end up losing minerals from our body. The best way to consume minerals naturally in a way that leaves our body more alkaline than before is through dark leafy green vegetables. So you have like your kale and your Swiss chard and your spinach and all these are really dark greens, broccoli rabe, rapini, etc. Seeds are so high in calcium, whether it's sesame seeds, pumpkin seeds, poppy seeds are super high in calcium. These are a great way. You can add them to smoothies, add them to baked goods, sprinkle them on a salad, etc. You can also get a lot of calcium through things like oysters and even sardines. So eating these foods in a salad or blended in a smoothie or, whatever can help provide you with plenty of calcium while alkalizing the body at the same time, because these foods, when they're broken down, leave the body more alkaline. So they put minerals into the body for our body to use rather than pulling minerals out, which is what dairy does. And there are so many studies to back up this information. These findings are not new. This push for dairy really came out, the 60s, the 70s, where they're like, drink your 5-6 glasses of milk a day to be healthy and strong. There was really no evidence or research to back it up. And it was something that the dairy companies were pushing, obviously, to promote the consumption of their product. But the more and more that, research has come out and osteoporosis has been skyrocketing and all these things, people starting to realize, okay, we're consuming dairy, but we are inflamed and our teeth are not strong or healthy and we're still losing bone density and all these things. That's where the research started coming out, realizing that maybe dairy is not the best option. And so again, it's not to say to never have dairy. It's just don't rely on dairy for your calcium source. Instead, turn to foods that are really high in calcium, but that are actually anti-inflammatory and alkaline and will nourish the body in a way that is going to leave you more alkaline, more nourished with higher mineral content. The third rule number 3, drink water with food to help digest. So this is such a myth. I really promote this one a lot with my clients because I think it is super important for people to know this and understand this. So we'll take a minute here. Drinking water with meals is something most of us grew up doing. I remember, personally, my parents, they would never let us leave the dinner table until we finished our full glass of water. I know, they would always give us a glass of water and then they say, drink your water, make sure you get your water in, thinking that that's what's best for us, obviously. But, and it's hard also, when you're a parent and you don't have the correct information. All you worry about is if your child is getting enough fluids. And now that we have more information, though, we know that we want as much as possible to have high acid in our stomach at mealtime. And this is going to ensure the best digestion possible, specifically for proteins and fats and the absorption of the protein and minerals. Drinking water with our meal dilutes our stomach acid and prevents us from fully digesting our food properly. This leaves our stomach stressed. It can give us heartburn and indigestion. It can lead to food sensitivities, gas, bloating, undigested food in our stools, and so much more. Drinking small sips is okay at mealtime when needed. Obviously, if you eat a bite of food and you didn't chew it enough and it's kind of stuck in your throat or whatever, you need to drink a little bit to get it down. But if you are truly chewing your food really well, eating mindfully, slowly, you shouldn't have to really drink at mealtime at all. And if you do need to drink, a small sip is enough. Sometimes you need to take supplements with your meals as well. So taking a couple sips to get the supplements down is okay. But to sit down with a full tall glass of water and chug it with your meal or have a tea right after your meal is definitely not recommended. The water that we are consuming, it mixes with the stomach acid, and our body produces acid around mealtime so that it can emulsify and puree all that food, specifically protein that's in our stomach. And then when it gets to our colon, when it leaves our stomach and goes into the duodenum and then into our small intestine, it should be more of like a puree. And then from there, our body just starts to absorb the water out and starts to form that stool and extracts all the nutrients and the good stuff from it. When we drink water with our meal, we dilute that stomach acid. So our stomach is now not emulsifying the food as much as it should be because it's not as acidic. So that food is not leaving our stomach as a puree. It's leaving our stomach as chunks of food, which puts so much more strain on our small intestine. And this is what can trigger more gut inflammation, leaky gut. It allows the food is sitting in our colon for much longer, trying to digest, which then allows pathogens that are living in our gut to come in and feed off of this food. And then they ferment it, which is where the gas and bloating will come from after a meal. Or, some of this food won't fully break down and you might actually see it in your stool when you have a bowel movement. This isn't good because it means not only are we stressing out our whole digestive system, but of course then if the food's undigested or poorly digested, we're not extracting all of those micronutrients from the food either. So it is really, really important that we make sure our stomach and our whole digestive system is functioning perfectly. And that means not diluting our stomach acid further. If you are the type of person that does need to have some water or liquid with your meal, your best bet is to add a bit of lemon or apple cider vinegar to your water if possible, if you can tolerate that. And that will help to keep the water a little bit more acidic when it hits the stomach. So the best way, though, to ensure that you won't need water at meal times is first and foremost, chewing your food extremely well, very slowly. I know this can be so tedious. I personally am an extremely fast eater. So I have to always be mindful when I eat, or I could finish a meal in like 5 minutes. And then I realize I barely chewed it. So every bite I take, when I remember, I will put a bite of food into my mouth and then I put my spoon or fork down. So I'm not collecting the next bite already. And I will chew, and I count in my head 30 chews. And you can go longer, but I will chew and make sure that that food is fully broken down. This also goes above and beyond just helping improve your digestion. The more that we chew, the more saliva is released. And there's an enzyme called amylase in our saliva that actually breaks down carbs and things in the mouth. So we'll start the digestive process in the mouth, already break down that food a bit. Chewing signals the liver to release enzymes and all of that. So then as we're chewing our food, our liver and our body's producing more enzymes to break down this food that we're eating. On top of that, our hunger hormones, leptin and ghrelin, will kick in more and sooner, letting our body know when we are actually truly full and satiated, versus if we inhale a meal super quick, our body, our signal hasn't clicked in yet. So our body hasn't realized that it's full. So we will tend to often overeat and therefore consume more calories than we actually need. Whereas if we take our time and actually eat slower, our hunger and our full hormones will kick in sooner, letting our body know that we're full, and we will feel full sooner. So then we won't go and eat more than we actually need. And this can really help with weight loss and managing weight as well. So just taking our time to chew, so important. It's such a small little thing, but it's something most of us don't do. And then of course, if we're chewing our food really well, then we're not going to need as much water to help push it down because it won't be getting stuck. So these are just some tips. Again, do what you can with this, but just obviously educating around the fact that water is not the best thing to just be chugging around mealtime. Rule number 4 is never leave the house without breakfast. Okay. Surprisingly, for some reason, most people still think that eating as soon as you wake up is extremely important. Now, this one is a yes and a no. So I'm going to get into this, but you always hear people say that eating breakfast will help give you energy and fuel for the day. This is true. That being said, and I'm going to kind of digress for a second. Some people do not need to eat breakfast. The average person will do much better eating breakfast, but not immediately upon waking. You want your body to have meals or food within an hour of waking up, depending when you wake up. So this is really where this tip will come down to the individual and what your routine looks like. So let's get into it. If you are waking up at like 5 a.m., you do not want to just be eating around 5:15. Like you don't want to wake up and then run to the kitchen and eat. A lot of people are waking up to get out of the door for work and they're eating as soon as they get out of bed and super early in the morning. Your body has not yet released enough cortisol and insulin and all of that to get you to a point where if you eat a meal, you can digest it well. Your body is still waking up if you're following the circadian rhythm and trying to sleep and wake up within this time frame, which is going to bed around 9:30 to 10:30 p.m. and waking up between 6:30 and 7:30 a.m. If you are kind of following this routine, your body is not prepared to eat until around 8 a.m. So if you're the type of person that's waking up super early to get all your stuff done before you're running out the door to work or to take the kids to school, and you're eating just as early as you're waking up, your digestive system is not really prepped and ready. So you could be just creating a little bit more of a strain on the body. You do want to eat breakfast, but there's a time where you want to eat it. So you don't want to be eating it, I would say, before 7:30 a.m. And you also don't want to be fasting until 12 or 1 in the afternoon, because then that's gone too long, especially for women. If you have a blood sugar imbalance or anything like that, it's going to create more hormonal issues, all kinds of things. So that sweet spot, which most people do not clarify, they just say, don't skip breakfast, eat as soon as you wake up. You want to clarify when that window of time is, and that's within the circadian rhythm. If you are waking up between 6:30 and 7:30 a.m., you want to be eating within an hour of that. So an hour of waking up. That's where the body has high levels of insulin, of cortisol, ready to go for your first meal to energize you, and it's ready to digest. If you eat earlier, the gut is not fully turned on yet. That can cause some damage and some inflammation. If you eat too late, it can cause a hormonal imbalance. So there is that sweet spot. And again, it's anywhere from like 7:30 to 9 a.m. is the best time to get a meal in. There's so much more to this. I did do an intermittent fasting podcast, so you guys can take a listen to that and get a little bit more information on how you should be fasting and when the best time is to do all that. So I won't go into further detail here, but just know that you don't want to just jump out of bed and eat. You want to give your body a little bit of time to wake up. Make sure you're eating again within that circadian rhythm. Ideally, obviously, if you're a shift worker, other things will take it into account here. But for the average person who has more of a normal schedule, eat around 8 a.m., 8:30. That will be the best time for you, for your body to be prepared to break down that food. Okay, let's move to rule number 5, which is eat carbs, fat, and protein at every meal. Okay, so you will hear so many people tell you this, to eat carbs, fats, and protein all at once for every meal for a balanced meal. There are times and places where you absolutely want to do this, but there is something called food combining we do want to take into account here. I almost never eat carbs, fats, and protein in one meal. I might at dinner time, I might do something like some squash with chicken and some avocado, but typically most of my meals are more broken down. Carbs digest much faster than fat and even faster than protein. So if you eat chicken with a side of pasta, the pasta will digest within 1 to 2 hours, while the chicken will digest within 4 to 6 hours. This means that when the pasta is done digesting, your stomach will dump out the contents into the small intestine, and the food that didn't have a chance to fully break down, aka the chicken, will be released, causing major digestive issues. If the stomach does not empty when the carbs are fully digested, they will remain in the stomach and begin to putrefy, causing belching, burping, and toxicity. So food combining is rarely practiced when it is one of the most important things we should be doing to maintain optimal digestion. And again, not at every meal, but as often as we can. Again, it doesn't need to be practiced by everyone and at every meal, but it should be followed for the larger meals when possible. And the best way to eat would be proteins with fats and veggies. So for example, make some chicken with avocado and a salad on the side, or have your carbs with your fat, oatmeal for breakfast with some coconut oil and hemp seeds. Splitting up the foods like this are going to help make sure that you're actually digesting everything again properly, fully, protecting the gut, keeping gut inflammation low, not giving your body an opportunity to feed pathogens, and so much more. I'll give you a few more examples very quick before I end the podcast in terms of food combining. A few other ways you can combine your food would be at lunchtime. You can make a beautiful like tuna salad wrap. So you can get some tuna, chop up some veggies, maybe have some avocado, and then you can get like an almond flour tortilla like the one from Siete, which is fat-based, much lower in carb, and use something like that. So your focus is the protein, the veggies, and the carbs are a very small portion. Some other sample ideas would be breakfast. If you eat eggs, you can make an omelet with a bunch of veggies and mushrooms. The egg, you could add some goat cheese to it and have it with some asparagus or some kind of vegetables or avocado on the side. Instead of doing toast with the eggs, with the avocado, which you can do. Again, this is not having to be done at every single meal, but the more proper food combining you do, the better. You will notice you will be less bloated. Things will digest a lot better if you can practice food combining. I have a whole article on what food combining is and on how to do it on my blog. You can go to holisticspring.com, click the blog tab, and in that search bar, search food combining, and you will find that article, and you can give it a read if you want more information on how to do this. But it is a cool topic to look into. I know a lot of people are not familiar with food combining, and we are always told have a meal with potatoes, chicken, and veggies. So have your carbs, your fats, your protein, all together. And while this is okay, again, here and there, you don't want to just do every single meal with that same food combinations, because it will start to cause some digestive issues. So I hope that this helps. I hope that you learned a lot from this and have a lot of takeaways. I love talking about nutrition. It's such a great thing to tell people what to do, but I also find we need to tell people more on what not to do, what tips not to follow. If you enjoyed this and you want to hear more topics and more information like this, please make sure you're following my podcast so you don't miss out on any episodes. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have the most beautiful day or night wherever you are listening from, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Take care. Bye.